welcome back to the Ryan and Elly show.
Yes.
How I feel about saying Ryan and Elly.
Or should be Elly and Ryan, should
Elly and Ryan show.
Let us know what you think in the comments.
So, believe it or not, we have structure to our podcast, and I'm keeping Ryan on the straight and narrow.
Yes, I think I'm definitely find it easy to go off on a tangent. Obviously, episode 1, if you haven't watched it, we talked about the 6 sort of things that we will cover in these podcasts, but we wanted to try and have a little bit of structure each time so that you know a little bit about what to expect, but there will be like a few surprises thrown in there. We will have some guests that we've got lined up in the future as well, but we're going to go through different things. So every week we're going to cover a common struggle. We're going to cover a pain point, a common struggle that we're finding in the fitness industry that we help people overcome, and we'll give you some sort of stories, some guidance, some sort of ways and strategies that you can move forward with these. And we would say, like, Elly's a note taker. You'll see the notepad there. Take notes. Use this, okay? There's so much value behind what we're going to offer. We will literally leave no holds barred and share everything we can.
Yeah, and like a purpose of ours is to be relatable. So if you have any questions or anything that you wanted us to discuss, and hopefully the topics that you will see are pretty relatable, feel free to kind of talk to us, because, you know, we do understand, we get it. We're not completely think that it's one way or the other, and we want to be able to, you know, be around lifestyle, focus on different areas of struggle. We completely get it, and that's why the first thing that we're going to discuss today is the struggles with nutrition and training when we are really busy. Yes.
Then we're going to move on to relationships. We'll talk about different relationships in all areas of our lives at different points. So we will go over that every single week. There'll probably be funny stories linked to me and Elly as well, because we're touchy subject at times. So we will go over that.
We will be discussing busy parent life. God, you should see what our life is like with our kids at the moment. So we're going to be discussing that along with like family struggles. It could even be possibly we'll touch on, you know, often when you're embarking on a new journey for yourself, that sometimes there can be barriers amongst our family members that can make it difficult for ourselves.
Yes, and then finally we'll always have Q&As at the end. So any questions any viewers, listeners have sent our way, we will play them if you're confident enough to do videos, which we want. So please check the show notes so that you can email us your questions. We'll be popping on and answering them. If we start getting loads of questions, we may end up doing a complete episode of just questions and answers, because we do love that kind of thing.
On your notes.
I love that she's laughing at.
On the notes that Ryan wrote, right, I can't really read Ryan's writing.
I do have dysgraphia.
You've written, or you've wrote, feel good section.
Yes, because that's all about feeling good.
Yeah, but have we mentioned that?
Yeah, the relationships.
Oh, okay.
Busy parent life.
Right.
Yeah, I think I maybe threw that in.
Okay. I didn't know if it meant like you were going to like talk us through like a meditation or something.
Oh, could you imagine?
To feel good.
Yeah.
End it on a feel good.
Maybe you think about that. Yeah. Right.
Right.
So today,
nutrition and training struggle. The pain point being
time.
Yes.
Time. We are, total transparency, yet to work with someone who has hours and hours each day to just sit there twiddling their thumbs. So time is something that we're all short of, or 99.9% of us. And if you're not short of time, this probably ain't the right place for you.
Yeah, and I think it's okay to openly admit that you can't perhaps get the things that you want done because of time. That's okay as well. What is not okay is often when you are feeling so bad in yourself, where it's affecting like your confidence, it's affecting like how you feel about yourself, it's affecting your moods, it's affecting so many areas of your life, where I would be saying we need to make time for you. But the whole sentence of I'm struggling because of time, we get it.
Yes. And I think that a lot of it falls down to, or boils down to, perhaps a lack of clarity in levels of importance of the things that are filling our time. And that's not, you know, it's not for us to sit here being these preachy coaches saying, oh, everything you do is more important than your health and fitness, because it's really not about that. But it's recognizing that actually if you are somebody who we talked about in the last episode scrolls a lot, but says you don't have time to prepare your food or have an idea around what you're going to eat, possibly that time could be better used. And it just sometimes it's recognizing it. And we do this activity with clients, don't we?
Mm-hmm. We actually do an exercise. Well, I know that me and Ryan do this. Is in order for us to make time for the things that are important to ourselves, we have to make a calendar appointment into our diaries. So we're kind of like committing to it. So it's so difficult. Say, for example, if you were to put in your calendar the time that obviously you have suggested to yourself is a good time for you to get that workout in, when you get that reminder and you go and try to snooze it, it's so much more difficult to snooze it or to ignore, because you can say to yourself, I set this in my calendar when I know this was the right time for me to do something. So it's like an instant reminder of something that's important to you.
And the process of doing it as well is like a micro commitment to yourself. You know, you've actually gone through that process of planning it.
I put in both our calendars school drop-off, school pick-up.
Because I've had them
swimming,
late.
Eve May needs lunch. But, you know, we that's how, we're busy, you know, and probably if we were so busy, yes, the training side may have to be adapted to suit our busier schedule at times where we might make things shorter or we'll work it between ourselves. But we always have that calendar appointment in our diaries because it just helps us with that level of commitment, because we know actually that's going to help us feel the best for ourselves.
Yeah, and when we actually, was it 3 years ago now? 3 years we had the health club? Mm-hmm. 3 years ago when we set up the health club, and, you know, it's easy for people to just sit, watch, think they work in a health club. They've surely got time to train. We were working like alternate days, so basically I done a long day Monday, Wednesday, and every other Friday. Elly done Tuesday, Thursday, and every other Friday. Weekends we were splitting the weekends. Yeah. So we were working long hours, and we had to be physically present in terms of like we couldn't always be trained. We didn't train.
Don't forget we had one car.
Yeah, we only had one car. We had 2 kids. It was mental, like a fly on the wall. I don't know how we got through it.
Lived the other side of the island to school.
And our relationship was quite distant as well at the time. So it all sort of had a knock-on effect, but our training slipped massively. And it was only when we were sat there and like, hold on a minute, we're preaching to people like, you know, you need to make time for your training. We work in a health club, like we have our own health club, but we're not having time to train. It was it wasn't an excuse, it was a reason, because there was always things we could have done, but then we had to make that commitment to each other and to ourselves, because we know, like, when we're training, if you can sit down and list all the benefits you'll get from training, like, for example, your energy levels, like your mood, like your shape change, like your sleep improves, like lower stress levels, like relationships improve, all these other things that are going to benefit, like your children get a better version of you, you'll probably start to realize how important that training is and find it much easier to find that time. And we know it's not comfortable and easy at first. We're not saying it is, but, you know, we've actually been through that where we've allowed our training to slip quite significantly.
Do you know, this topic's actually right on point, like relevance to something that happened this morning. One of our members came in. She's going away to South Africa this afternoon. She's getting her hair done, and her hair appointment was at 9 a.m. She came in at 8:40, and she said, I'm going to get a 20-minute workout in. And she said to me, I know it's not much. I said, but it's better than not doing anything. 100%. And that's where it's so important to kind of remove the guilt and do the best that you can do given what's right for you at this moment in time. If you can commit to 10, 15-minute workout right now in the most busiest time of your life, then that's amazing, because that's more than what perhaps you thought that you could do. And you can, when things do perhaps aren't so busy or life changes a little bit, you can then progress them. But I'm all for kind of giving yourself credit in all areas, recognizing your wins. And that's why when we talk about length of a workout, and we always will come back to your lifestyle and what can you realistically commit to that's going to help you mentally feel really good as well.
Yes, and I think it's sometimes doing that as well is like it's such a mini win for you, and sometimes that's uncomfortable for people. We find it's particularly women, they find it hard to give themselves like they're doing something for them, but actually when you do that you start to recognize, oh well, my children are seeing me put me first. I am a priority, and you should be a priority, because when you do that, everyone else is going to get that happier, healthier version of you.
Yeah. Should we go through some perhaps ideas that can maybe help?
Yes. You got one, or do you?
Yeah, I was gonna, if life is really chaotic, if you like our life, what I kind of like to do, and it's not something that is set in stone, is you can map out your week. So say for example, I like to do it on a Sunday. We always say that our week starts on a Sunday. That's when we start to get ready for the week. We get prepared and think about work. So map it out. Like look at what are your priorities for that week. So if you, for example, have work deadlines, you have your children who are doing activities or hobbies, you have meetings, you have social events, be putting those things in your calendar first, and then be asking the question, what could I commit to this week? That's a stepping stone for me working towards myself in order to feel the best possibly. Now, this can include when you're going to do your meals. If you like to meal prep, you can plan out your meals with your family. We always plan out, we actually got the kids to plan out our meals this week.
Yeah, so bread and chicken every night.
Or even just like, for example, and I know it's not a topic that we're going to be talking about is nutrition, but one thing can just be knowing where you're going to get your protein from. So then that's where you can then set your calendar appointments when you're going to go for your productivity break, walk around the block if you do that sort of thing, or you're going to get your home workout in or your meditation. You know, these are just little things that you can, that are realistic for you right now. And if you do have a busy week, you may not be able to commit to everything, but just even doing one thing a day that's for you is better than nothing.
And with that, when you map out every minute of every day almost, like, you know, and it doesn't have to be like too thorough, but what it does is it helps you realize dead time, if you like. You know, it helps you sort of see time where we possibly have got time that might not feel like time that we should be using. For example, like in the evening, it's not an ideal for everybody to go in and we don't feel like doing a workout, but could we be doing something that's slightly more active than sat down watching the TV? You know, like we talk and we will hear it a lot with people like, oh, but it's the only time I see my partner, and we get that. But I remember watching this thing with Jay Shetty, and he was saying how like watching TV with your partner is the lowest form of intimacy. You know, we want to be doing something. So could you be doing something that involves movement? It doesn't matter. It could be just dancing around the living room. It could be being active if you can get out and go for a walk in the evening, whatever it could be, but actually being more active in a way is going to be a win as well. But when you start mapping out this time and you recognise actually from 8 o'clock I don't do anything, but I don't go to bed till 11, you've got 3 hours that you could be using, and it's not necessarily it has to be exercise. It could just be like, I'm going to plan my food or whatever, but do every minute of every day. It makes a huge difference.
You know, I want to say something.
No, what?
You do realise that like one of my highlights for the weekend, which I'm now going to have to scratch out, is watching like some form of psychological thriller with you. Like low level of intimacy, right? Mental night there. Like get that.
That's why
date night.
I normally fall asleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it you happy for me to go again?
Yeah.
Okay, so this just came to my head as I was talking, is knowing that things are adaptable. So if you do have a busy week coming up, you're not going to fit your workouts in. Now we can go down the route of kind of beating yourself up because you're not going to get the workouts in. It's recognizing work's taking a priority. That's an important area of your life. But there are things that you can do around your life as a whole, day-to-day things that you can be doing that are also working towards your physical health. So like one of Ryan's favourite examples is if you're parking the car, could you park a little bit further away from your office or where you need to go? So you're going to get those extra steps in. Could you take the stairs rather than a lift? Could you maybe get a little productivity break where you, on your lunch break, go for a 10 to 15 minute walk? You know, these are not, maybe you don't get that kind of the endorphin rush that you would get from a workout. But when we're looking at ways where if you're on a weight loss goal and you're kind of wanting to maintain that calorie deficit, these are still great tools that are going to help you feel really good. It's even, could you have a shorter workout one day, a 10 to 15 minute high interval, limited rest, could be something that's going to help you as well.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of it is about setting yourself realistic expectations based on what's coming up. And that's where, like the 7Ps, plan and prior preparation prevents piss poor performance. When we remember that, all we need to do is have some sort of idea, and like, you know, everyone's different in terms of their level of planning. And I get some people like spontaneity. Me and Elly don't. We like planning. We're the kind of people who go on holiday and we planned every minute we're awake. But it's about finding what's right for you and having some sort of plan in place. You're much more likely to stick to it. There's obviously more other ways that you can do it by, like, making a commitment publicly to someone, whether it be your partner, whether it be a friend, whether it be on social media. If you've got a coach, using it, you know, make that commitment public, because it will hold you more accountable. Like, it's like, we'd often say, like, would you be happy standing up in front of a room full of people and explaining why you didn't do that workout you said you were going to do? If the answer is no, it probably tells you could have found a way around it. And it just sort of gives you these sort of thought processes before we pull out of doing things. Actually, I've made a good plan and I'm going to implement it.
Yeah.
And that's how we overcome the obstacle of time. And it's not going to change overnight. If you're someone who's busy, you can't just drop things. So I think it's important that if you have been there with your notepad, taking notes.
Yeah.
Don't expect to transform and change everything overnight, but it's just look at how can we implement, even if you take one of these little tools or strategies that we've talked about away from today, that'll be a valuable lesson.
And I think it helps manage expectations as well. So, and I know that I keep referring to as if like the reason why you're busy is maybe because of work or it's because of, you know, family life. But if you have it all written down, what's happening, it kind of helps manage expectations. Now, one of the things when people give up on working towards goals that are important to them is because a lot of the time their expectations are a lot higher compared to what they're willing to do or have done for it. So if they are really busy, most likely is they can't commit to the things they once thought they could do, but their expectations are still that they're expecting to see the results that they initially wanted, but they don't match, and then often feel really bad. They drop out, and they think it's not working. When really the reality is, if you're maintaining during a really busy point in your life where you're not gaining, you're not kind of like regressing, but perhaps maybe there's not a progress, but you're maintaining during the most busiest time where maybe a year ago you would have completely stopped or given up, then in reality you are one step ahead, and you're most likely one step ahead of many people. So that's what's really important, is how writing it down, like you plan out your week ahead or you plan out the 3 days ahead. And then I think you're setting that bar in your mind of what to expect. If you're then not happy with what you should be expecting to receive at the end of it, that's where you can go, okay, maybe I could level up my commitment, or maybe I could do a little bit more. Small steps.
Yes, and it's probably one for another day, but that's where it also can be looking at the 4Bs that we talk about a lot. So like when we're coaching clients, we get them to set goals in the 4Bs, and we've got like our body goal, which I would say a lot of people when they first start join for that, wouldn't you say? Like it's more about the body, whether it be a weight, a shape, whatever. Then you've got the brain, which is all about your mental health, your emotional well-being, social health. Then we've got our besties, which is like the relationships in our life of all kinds, not just your intimate ones, your working relationships, etc. Then we have your business, which is like your finances, your career, etc. And it's recognising that sometimes, you know what, there'll be a month where work takes over, and that was your business. Your work, you're focusing on your business goal, and it's recognising we're not going to have progress, won't be linear. There'll be ups and downs on our body on that, based on it. But it's just recognising that if you can sort of pull away from it and say, well, did I progress in one of those 4 areas? And the answer is yes. Possibly you need to stop being so hard on yourself.
Having fun with your friends,
yeah,
like around Christmas time, or you know, you've made effort with like your connections with your family, with your work colleagues, with friendships that you're like socially, you're feeling really good. If you've gone out on a girls' night out and you kind of you went over your calories, you drank way too much than you wanted to, etc., but you've had a class night out and you've laughed like you've never laughed before, and you just felt really good. We're here to say, hell yeah, enjoy that. That's an absolute win, because you can get back on track the next day. You shouldn't be sacrificing, you know, also your social health, and that's why we segregated the B's because they are really important pillars to ourselves.
100%.
And you don't need to sacrifice one for the other.
Yes. No, you don't. And that is important, because when you get tunnel vision, then the others fall apart.
And then you resent it.
Yes.
And us.
Yes, us. So moving on. So you've nailed time. Obviously, if you do have any questions, any further comments, let us know a little gem from that section down in the comments. We would love to hear from you on it. Relationships. We're going to talk a little bit about them now. And I think we thought it would be very poignant to first talk about intimate relationships, because obviously us doing this together, we work and live together, we do everything together. And obviously for anybody on an area where they are trying to achieve personal development, the partner, your loved one, is probably going to have a fundamental impact on the level of results you'll get. It can be a positive one, but it can also be a negative one, and sometimes that can be hard. So we thought it would be important to sort of touch on it today and sort of go over it, because, you know, there's no denying that if two people are together and then one starts seeing that personal growth and the other one doesn't, it's difficult for them. And we're not saying that they're in the wrong if they find that hard, but it's how do we deal with that?
Yeah, it's like, for example, we often get couples, male and female couple, that will come to us and they'll be on, they feel as if it's be great, and we do love it that they're doing it together. But what is very common, and we do it ourselves, or I do it, is when you're comparing the male progress to the female progress. Now, obviously, genetics-wise, we're completely different, and men are most likely going to see, if they're following the plan, they're going to see progress before the female, or the progress is going to be greater. And it's very easy for the female side to kind of compare, get upset, could even be demotivated to continue. Yes,
and I think that it's the first thing with that is it's to acknowledge that it's a completely natural feeling. You know, if you are someone comparing it to the other half, and, you know, it doesn't always have to be the same way. It can be men are trying hard as well, but typically men do tend to get quicker, more accelerated results. Men only have to think about reducing their calories a little bit and they make progress. Women have to work much harder, so it's frustrating. But I think the most important thing about it is to try and keep the communication open. And we always say this with everybody, is communication will probably solve most problems before we even get started.
Yes, and I agree with, when it comes to relationships in all areas, especially like work colleagues, family members, loved ones, friendship groups, is communicate to them about how important, or the reason behind why you are doing something that's like about bettering yourself, because often they don't really understand or know the reason behind it, or understand how you've been feeling if you've not been happy, and it can lead to frustration. So, for example, you know, if they start calling you the bore, or why are you not doing this anymore? You used to be so fun. Or work colleagues are bringing in the cake, and why are you not eating it? I made it especially for you. And so then you get that guilt, don't you? Like, oh God, I'm going to have to do it because I don't want to upset them. When in reality, if they were to truly understand how you're feeling, and if they kind of like understood and accepted and felt and, you know, respected your feeling of, you know, I appreciate you've done that effort, but right now I'm really working hard on myself, etc., etc., they will listen and they'll accept it, especially for like a loved one. We see this a lot.
Yeah.
Often there's like a non-supportive spouse.
And it's not like they're doing it on purpose sometimes. A lot of it's like, you know, like, for example, a classic husband comment would be, you don't need to lose weight, you look great. It's like, well, actually, and, you know, I'd be guilty of saying that to Elly as well. And it's like, actually, that's it, invalidating or devalidating, what's the word? Invalidating your feelings, when actually I know now I need to step up. It's like, okay, well, why is that important to you? But we can also then it's not about me understanding it, it's just about me respecting it. And I think that that's the big thing. So having these open communication with those closest to you is really important when you're on a journey. What we would also say is comparison is the thief of joy. You know, nobody's going and comparing the progress they've made to someone who made half the progress of them. they're going and comparing the progress that they've made. Someone who's absolutely smashed it and they're part of a minority that's killed it, you know. So you're never going to feel good if you're comparing yourself to others.
Yeah, I think communication is key. Obviously, Ryan and I, we do everything together, and I think people. I think people think, you know, like as if we've got our shit together in terms of our relationship, and you know, it is a lot of pressure working together, living together. Obviously, we want to have fun as well.
We have bickers.
We have we have bickers, and often those bickers can be, you know, from miscommunication, tiredness. We are both completely different personality types. It can work with us, but it also can work against us sometimes.
100%.
And that's why it's, you know, it's okay to communicate how you feel. And I always say to everyone is, whatever you're feeling, it's really important to feel those feelings. It's what we do next in terms of our actions based on those feelings is the important part to it.
Yeah, and I think that for me, I always think whenever me and Elly, we might have differences of opinions, we might have disagreements, is I always remember like we both want the same outcome. We just got a different perspective of things. And when I recognise, and when you think like that, you can understand actually, do you know what? Someone's perspective is going to be their reality, and you can argue about how each person's seeing it, or you can just be like, actually, let me put myself in their shoes. That's how they're seeing it. That's cool. It doesn't mean you're saying they're right, you're wrong, or vice versa. It's just recognising actually perhaps we've got a slightly different viewpoint on that. This is how I'm going to move forwards. And when you become open with how you're feeling, they have to validate that and listen to it because they love and respect you, and it will come with time. You're not doing anything that is negatively impacting them. There's no reason for them to not respect that.
I've got a really good story or example to kind of...
I was going to say this, that makes me nervous.
No, it's a positive one.
Okay. Oh, I like it.
Okay, so this is like an example of like based on like communication and how you can support one another. I had just given birth to Eve May 2014. So nearly 10 years ago. And I, at the time, was just qualifying as a personal trainer, so I was probably still studying, just given birth, and obviously wanting to kind of get back into training. Ryan was really busy. Personal training, you had the club, you had multiple boot camp businesses. And I remember, like, Ryan, each morning, I would get text messages from Ryan saying, what time do you want to train at today? And I remember thinking, like, God, he's the one that's really busy. He should be telling me, like, you know, if I can't do, or his training's more important. And him always saying to me was that, like, my training was just as important to his. And we made it work, like, the two of us, kind of, you know, even if it meant I would drive down, Eve may be in her baby car seat. I would give Ryan Eve May. I would do, like, you know, a 30-minute session. That was enough. And then we'd literally just change over and hand me back baby. But we had that level of respect that my goals were just as important as your goals, and I think that's what made it work for us.
Yeah, and I think that it sort of links back to the whole time thing as well, you know, like involving each other and planning it, you know, talk to each other. So if you're going through, like, you go back and you do that activity of mapping your week out, because you're going to do that after this finishes, you can involve your partner. Look, these are the time slots. If you have childcare as an issue, for example, and you would like to do something where you haven't got to be at home with the kids, talk to them. Look, can I get out and train? And put it in both your diaries and have fun doing it together, planning it together. And also, we've found that the more involved you make your partner in your journeys, the more successful you'll be. And the more supportive they'll be. You know, it needs to be it's very rare that we see success, one person sees great success if the other one isn't on board with them in some way. And it doesn't mean they have to be on the same journey, but they need to be on board in some way.
Yeah, and I like, when we talk about goals, like, you don't like have to have a goal of like, has to be like a number, or it has to be a performance goal. You could just, like, when we talk about goals, it's kind of like the overall feeling that you want to be feeling day in, day out. So, like, my overall goal is I want to just feel really good in myself. So that is important. Even if your partner has like a marathon goal, your goal of feeling the best you is just as important as someone who is working towards a performance-related goal, because this is your life as well. So remember that. I feel like I need to be saying this more to the ladies, because from my experience, and men don't come and hate at me, but when I see like the parents, you know, the mum and dad, I do feel as if the dads kind of
Finds it easier.
find it so much
Yeah.
easier to go out, go training. Whereas the mum, we just have a guilt. Oh, do I have time? I've got the washing. I've got to do the sterilising. I've got to, do the food shop. That we find it easy to be like, oh, it's okay. I'll go again tomorrow, or I'll pick it back up next week. But then we're living in that rut of, self-destruct, and then we start to feel guilty, then we don't feel good enough, and then it really impacts us. And I just kind of really shouting out there, how you feel and you prioritizing yourself is actually going to give the family a huge win, because they're going to get happy mummy. They're going to get mummy that feels really good and confident in themselves, mummy that wants to be in the photos, mummy. And yeah, so no hate towards the dads here, but I'm just reminding.
No, and I would agree with that as well. And I think that many of the guys that we work with would say the same. They probably do, and I do think that's probably like an instinctive thing. Mum guilt. Dads do. They just find it easier to switch off, make sure that they can prioritize their training or prioritize their workout or whatever. Get them involved, do it together. I would say that that's one thing that I've always tried to do, and like Elly obviously remembered back from when May was born, and it does make a huge difference longer term to relationships, but also the success of the both parties achieving any goals. Yeah.
So we may have kind of
touched over the busy parent life.
Yeah,
thing.
we kind of overlap there onto the busy parent life family struggle.
Yes. So what was it? We had a question that we wanted to go over that we always asked.
How do you balance it all?
Yes. This one is a question we get asked because I think that we obviously share a lot of our life on our social media stories, what we're doing, how we're getting stuff on. I would say it's a common thing that we get, and it probably, again, it's sort of, I think the title for this should be about time, busy or something, because it sort of links back to the whole busy thing. And I think that the first thing, I don't know, we might have slightly different answers on this, but I think the most important thing that we have when it comes to balancing it all is we are effective with our planning and our communication. I think that that's probably the most important thing, and I'll be honest, Elly is probably the one that will do more of the planning in terms of putting things in a diary. I've no word of a lie, dropped May to school every day that I did school thing 10 minutes late for a whole term because I didn't know what time I had to drop her at.
So what was it that you
and I'd
said?
get distracted. And I think I rocked up one morning.
You said
to
the gate's not open.
Yeah, I rocked up one morning, we smashed the morning, living my best life. Me and the kids, we're all happy days, get to school. And I'm like, why is the gate shut? We can't drop Neve off. And it's like, is it not always shut when you get there? And I was like, no, it's normally open. I drop Neve off. May walks in. So you've been dropping May should be at school 10 minutes before Neve. So I've been dropping May off late. And, so now the calendar appointment is set for the time I need to leave the house to remind me you need to get May to school in the next 10 minutes. It sounds trivial, but it makes a huge difference. Having that sort of structure and communicate planning in it.
Do you know what story I thought you were going to tell?
What's that?
That's what's going to make me laugh now. I thought you were going to say is every day you on school duties that May's in her PE kit.
Oh yeah, she's that as
you
well.
literally don't have a clue what's going on.
She's in PE kit today, though, yeah?
I think it's changed.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But yeah, Thursday used to be the only day where she wasn't because she blags it.
Yeah, and then they sent a school email out, didn't they?
So, if you watch the podcast, our first Welcome Back podcast, Ryan just said, you refer to us as if we're like ducks. We look like we got it undercover, but we're flapping.
Yes.
We are flapping ducks. We literally, we don't have our shit together. And so coming back to, answering the question about balancing it all, I think what we do is when we the 4 B's that we mentioned, the besties, the body, the brain, the business, we map it, like Ryan said, we map it all out, but we make sure that we at least do one thing in each of those areas. So with the body, if you're really busy, why overcomplicate things? So keep things simple. So for example, even if it just meant you're someone who struggles with, cooking meals, prepping, that's okay. Convenient shopping, if you're really busy and it just means that you have to buy shop bought stuff, that's absolutely fine. If you're working towards a weight loss goal, keeping in a calorie deficit, no matter what you've eaten, is going to help you with that goal. So keeping it simple is really going to help. Going for walks, if you can't get to a workout, but you're continue getting your steps up, you're being active where you can. It may mean like you're getting up a little bit earlier. You're still working towards your goals. You're probably still working towards your, your career. So you're getting that business goal. And then with the besties, it could just be a phone call. It's just, ticking the boxes, but keeping things, I think, simple will help create balance. And then as you consistently keep doing it over and over again, you can then change it up a little bit. You can, maybe look at a recipe or do a workout, but don't change everything all at once. I think that's really important. It's just going to throw you and it's not going to feel natural.
I think as Elly was talking there, and I was thinking is what we probably have is we've got a set of non-negotiables in our life.
That's the word.
That's good, eh? And
do you remember we always used to got to commit to...
Yeah, and when you create, and you have your own, like, it's not going to be the same as ours, like you look online and it's 10,000 steps is the number that the NHS pump out, and that might not be realistic for you, but like if you're currently doing 3,000, you're not moving enough, set a non-negotiable that you won't go to bed until you've hit 4,000. It's progress. It doesn't have to be more. If you're drinking a litre of water, everybody knows ideal world we want 2 litres, but this isn't an ideal world, this is the real world. Could you set 1,300 milliliters? You had to think about that. Just little bits of progress, but setting them as non-negotiables. Like, I'm not going to go to bed until I do X, Y, Z. Then once you've created a habit with that, you can build from that, but you're building from the foundations of the simple stuff. Like, our workouts aren't non-negotiables. They're not. They're things that, yes, they're things that we factor into our life and we calendar, but the non-negotiables would be like the hydration, like the protein-based meals, like the steps. They're the things that are non-negotiables, like making sure that our kids are prioritized with what they need to be doing, because they are non-negotiables. Work is a non-negotiable. We have to do what we've got to do for work. When you're crystal clear on those, you can then recognize, actually, I've got a non-negotiables that are in all 4 areas. I'm doing them every day. I can give myself a pat on the back at the end of the night before I go to bed.
If you're seeing your wins, that's going to give you a feel-good factor. You're going to be like, hell yeah, I can do this. And then you might be like, after a couple of weeks, as you seeing, actually, I can do this. Oh, do you know what? I'm actually increased my steps by 500 steps. That is a few minutes. But these 500 steps that you're increasing maybe every few weeks are honestly taking you to places. That's really like cheesy, isn't it? But you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, these are I would rather you focus on the little things rather than like the bigger thing that feels so far away that you don't get any sort of like emotion from.
I think a lot of the time as well, that the bigger thing, talking about that, is we set ourselves up for, I don't want to say failure, but we set ourselves up to not achieve it and feel disappointed if the bar is too high and it's unsustainable. And actually, like, you doing 500 extra steps a day for the next year is much more realistic for you than jumping your steps up, doubling them for a couple of weeks, finding it's not sustainable and thinking fuck it and doing nothing again. That's what we would say. Marginal gains, longer term, they might offer the instant gratification, but longer term are going to transform your life much better.
My Apple Watch just told me time to stand, and I can see Ryan looking at me because he probably saw that I got a notification, and I was wondering if it was irritating you, so I was like, it's time to stand. So I think
on that note, we're pretty much done on today's episode. If you did find it helpful, we'd love to know in the comments. Let us know some of the gems that you found in the episode. If you do some of the exercises that we've gone through, we would love to hear your feedback. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to our channel, and if you do see any of our shorts, share it. The more we get people watching these, the more we're going to keep adding value every single week. And questions, we would love to have some questions videoed, ideal world videoed in. We could block your name out, it will just have a little clip of you, and we'll probably put it in the middle there, so I won't make it all like play and get the video guy to do that. It'll look good, it'll look really fancy.
Yeah, I won't be behind that.
No.
The fact you've got me here, no joking.
Yes.
That's the subject.
Yes. On that note, thank you very much. See ya.
Bye.